friends. So the Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated between September 15th and October 15th, which means we just started. And so I wanted to do a book talk. I did one last year, but I wanted to do a 2021 edition of National Hispanic Heritage Month. Barely got those words out. And it celebrates the influence of Hispanic Americans in our history, our culture, our achievements in the United States. So I think it's super important, especially because we consider ourselves such a melting pot. And the fact that all those different cultures exist makes us a stronger country, right? So I'm very excited to share with you some new authors and books. I have a couple fiction and a couple nonfiction. Some of them aren't brand new, but they're within the last year, most of them, and they are all available in our library system, so you can borrow them through us or going to other libraries, whichever you prefer. And yeah, so I'm going to put up a cover of a book, and then I'm going to talk about it, and then I will put all the covers again at the end so that you can get busy placing holds and requesting these books. If you have any questions about any of them or having trouble getting them, let me know and I will be happy to help you. So let us get started with our National Hispanic Heritage Month books. The first book we're going to discuss is not brand new, but came out within the last year. It's called Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And so it is a kind of a horror, atmospheric horror book, which I know isn't everybody's thing. I am not a horror reader in general, but I can be persuaded in certain instances. And this is one that I've had a number of friends recommend to me. So I'm definitely going to read it, even though it's not kind of the book that I would always pick up is not always scary, but it has a fantastic cover, as you saw. So it says that if you haven't picked it up yet, now is the time, because it's they're making a Hulu series out of it, a limited edition Hulu series, which they do with so many great books. And so I'm really excited to see how that adapts, but I want to read the book first. I always want to read the book first so I can make my own images and picture the characters the way I want to picture them, and then see how they compare. Otherwise, if I watch the show or movie first, then all I do is see that playing in my head while I'm reading, and I like to have my own ideas before I'm influenced by however they present it in another medium. So it's set in the 1950s, and it revolves around Noemi Tabora, a young debutante bent on saving her newlywed cousin from an unknown threat. So it says that fans of Gothic horror in particular will be especially hooked by this. And NPR, The New Yorker, Vanity Fair all named it one of the best books of 2020. So if you have not yet picked up this book and you are in for something spooky, we are coming close to Halloween season. Some seasonal spookiness is a lot of fun. Or if you're just a fan of Gothic and horror, or either or, I think Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia is the book for you. Okay, on to our next book. Some of you may know this author from a previous book that was a huge hit, The House on Mango Street. This one's called Marta I Remember You by Sandra Cisneros. She is a best-selling Chicana author, and this is a brand new book about a young woman who sets off to start her life as a writer in Paris, but ends up panhandling, partying, and making lifelong friends along the way. So Booklist described it as vivid, tender, funny, bittersweet, haunting, and Publishers Weekly says that fans will treasure Cisneros' latest novel. So if you loved The House on Mango Street, this is her next book, which I think you might adore. But also, if you have not read that one yet, then that's a great place to start. And then you could always pick up this one after, or vice versa. They're not a series, so they're two separate standalone novels. So you don't have to read them both or read them in order. The highlights say that it is a dual language book, so it's written in English and Spanish. So if you're like me and constantly trying to learn a new language and having a hard time doing it as an adult, I think dual language books are really good because you get to compare the English with the other language at the same time. And if you are a dual language speaker already, then cool for you, and you get to enjoy it in both and kind of, I would suppose, compare the interpretation with the translation that's there. Like you're reading it in its native tongue, you might have a different translation, although I would suppose since Sandra is bilingual that it's a good translation. I'm sure she ensured that. So it's a lovely pick who love reading, people believe who I'm going to start that sentence over. It is a lovely pick for those who love reading about friendships. So I can think of a number of novels recently that have come out that are about friendships, particularly Elena Ferrante's books about the lifelong friendship of a bunch of women. So if you're into those kind of books, then Marta I Remember You by Sandra Cisneros may be an awesome pick for you. Okay, next book. Okay, so the next title is Of Women and Salt. It's a novel by Gabriel Garcia. And Good Morning America picked it as one of their book club picks, and they call it a sweeping, masterful debut. We all know I love a debut novel. About a daughter's fateful choice, a mother motivated by her own past, and a family legacy that begins in Cuba before either of them were born. And I love that this one's set in Cuba. I think that that is a place that's so physically close to the United States, but many of us know so little about, particularly because of the difficult relations our countries have had politically, I guess. And there is sort of a time capsule thing that happens in Cuba because of the leaders of the country and how they have chosen to run things. There isn't a lot of in and out, so I think we're all very curious about life in Cuba. And I love a novel that's set there that can give us maybe some of that information and fill in the blanks for us a little. So it says that in present-day Miami, Jeanette is battling addiction. Daughter of Carmen, a Cuban immigrant, she is determined to learn more about her family history from her reticent mother and makes the snap decision to take in the daughter of a neighbor detained by ICE. So we're talking about a lot of current event issues here, immigration and, like I said, relations with Cuba, and also that the population in Miami that is Cuban, because there is a large Cuban population there due to its proximity. So I think that there's a number of things going on here that make it sound like a really fascinating novel. And it says, from the 19th century cigar factories to present-day detention centers, from Cuba to Mexico, Gabriel Garcia's Of Women and Salt is a kaleidoscopic portrait of betrayals, personal and political, self-inflicted and those done by others, that have shaped the lives of these extraordinary women. Love a story about some strong women too. So it sounds like this has all of the things that I enjoy, and I'm very much looking forward to reading Of Women and Salt by Gabriel Garcia. Okay, I have a couple nonfiction selections for you now. This next book, as you saw there, is called For Brown Girls with Sharp Edges and Tender Hearts by Prisca Dorcas Mojica Rodriguez. So Latina Rebels founder, that's the name of her company, Prisca Dorcas Mojica Rodriguez, invites women of color to challenge the status quo and find pride within themselves in this powerful new book. The Nicaraguan author and activist tackles racism, colorism, classism, the immigrant experience, and more in ways that are honest, relatable, refreshing, and inspiring. So what more could you ask for from a nonfiction book celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month? And again, I love that we got yet another country represented here, a Nicaraguan viewpoint represented, which I think is fantastic. They call this a must-read for women of color who know they deserve more, and a must-read for white allies, which is important because I have talked about allyship and intersectionality on a number of these book talks. So I love any book that helps me be a better ally to women and people of color and anybody who needs a voice that is marginalized, who I can help to lift up and promote is something that's always exciting to me personally. It's that social justice bent, I think, that's really important. So if you're looking for something to inspire you and give you some ideas of how to be a better ally or to reach for more in your own life, For Brown Girls with Sharp Edges and Tender Hearts. Okay, I've got two more books for you. The next book is called My Broken Language by Chiara Alegria Huedes. She is a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright who is making magic once more by penning a brilliant and poetic memoir of growing up in Philadelphia from her childhood days to her college days, while perfectly capturing the nuances of her Puerto Rican family. She was the co-writer of In the Heights with Lin-Manuel Miranda, who many of us know from Hamilton and a number of other things. And he has said of this latest book, her sentences will take your breath away. I know we have a lot of memoir fans in the audience, and I think nothing kind of gives you a better experience than reading firsthand what somebody's been through and what they experienced to give you a little more empathy and a little more understanding. So especially by a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright. So it said it was chosen as the Good Morning America Buzz Pick, and every line of this book is poetry, says one of the journalists and authors who read it. So if you are a fan of poetry and playwrights and biographies, there's kind of something for everybody here. My Broken Language by Chiara Alegria Huedes. Okay, I have one more book for you and then we're done for the week. This last book is an author that so many of us are familiar with for very good reason, Isabel Allende. So this is The Soul of a Woman. It's not fiction, which usually her books that you are familiar with mostly are fiction. So this is a little different. She is the queen of magical realism, which I would agree with. She is Chilean, and it says that she has gifted us with gorgeous meditation on feminism and womanhood across ages in this latest release. It's a truly captivating memoir / guidebook that will give you plenty to talk about at your next book club meeting. We have several book clubs that meet here. Potentially this is a book for you to add to your list, book clubs. So it says fans of Allende won't be disappointed. So even if you are traditionally a fiction reader, but you love her, I would suggest picking this book up and stretching your boundaries a little bit. And it's a feminist memoir packed with wit and wisdom. Love and love. So I don't think she ever does disappoint. Her writing is beautiful and lyrical. She knows what she's about. And I love the idea that it's a feminist memoir. Again, there's something empowering, exciting, motivating about reading about other strong women and kind of creating more of a global village of us. Because there are some things that cut across culture and geography and politics and race, and gender is one of them. And you know, being a shared feminine experience of being women in this world, I think is something that is a commonality and that cuts across those barriers. And so I love something that connects us in that way, like a worldwide sisterhood. So The Soul of a Woman by Isabel Allende. So that's all I have for you this week. I am really very much looking forward to coming back next week with some new book talks. And yeah, if there's anything that I can do for you or any way that we can help at the library, please don't hesitate to call. And we will see you next week. Happy National Hispanic Heritage Month, everyone.